Hello there, my friends. My name is Joshua, and I want to share with you a very simple concept, which is that in order to be less angry at the world, in order to be less angry at other people, the solution is very simple in many cases. Not every case, but in many cases, the solution is simply to stop being fucking offended by everything. Stop being offended by how other people feel, what other people say, how they think. And I've noticed this as an ongoing pattern. And this pattern has continued to exponentially increase its hold over people's minds. And I'm not going to go as far as some people and claim it's a mind virus or, bring the whole woke culture thing into it. But a lot of people are angry just for anger's sake. And a lot of people have a lot to say that really makes no fucking sense when it's under analysis. And most of the people who claim to be those who are out for justice, they mean well. But a lot of them really don't even understand what they're fighting for. And the reason that's relevant is because there are a lot of people who have been accused of things or feelings or feeling or thinking a certain way merely because of somebody else's interpretation. So the person gets angry at a person for what they said. Then the person tells the person, I don't like what you said because I think you meant this. And then the other person gets angry because they did not intend it to come across that way. Misunderstandings, misinterpretations, these are the most common sources of frustration and anger these days. And this is compounded by the fact we have text messages, Instagram posts and Facebook and YouTube and everything else. Comment sections full of not just trolls, but bots and all kinds of people and groups and governments looking to cause trouble on the internet. That there are people who are paid to get people angry at each other. And if you look at what's happened in the past 5 to 10 years, it's just become so ridiculous. And if you're old enough to see it, then it's easy to shake your head and be like, kids these days, or, blame a government agency, blame the Democrats, blame the Republicans. But I think we all know better. It's bigger than that. Somebody pointed something out earlier when I was watching I don't know, some video about, they were talking about how the spy balloon that they, shot down over the Atlantic, and which, as of the making of this video, which will date it, they apparently about 3 or 4 hours ago just shot down another balloon of some sort. They haven't said what it is, but they said it's a high altitude something that the military shot down over Alaska about 4 hours ago. But when you look back at the history, there's so much more to it. This has been going on for years. But the bigger problem here, what the person pointed out was that he said, here you have a foreign government which is a threat to the United States, regardless of the United States' own threat to the world. But China is a significant problem for the U.S. And they said they send a balloon over the U.S., then they deny it was theirs, then they admit it was theirs, then they get mad at us for shooting it down. Instead of the American population reacting as they should, which is, fuck you, China, the American public starts fighting about whether Biden should have shot it down sooner. Like, I had even a friend send me a text about that. Love the guy, we have these discussions. We are all only as informed as we are, but apparently it was like 3 days before, he wanted it shot down right away, and it was the military that gave the order not to. And they said they think it would be better to wait. Maybe they were collecting data on it, whatever it might be. The point is that the instant response to a foreign device entering American airspace is not to point at that country, but to point at each other and once again say it's a Democrat or Republican thing. People are actually getting angry at each other and frustrated about their position on politics instead of on, can we protect our country on the world stage? What happens when hypersonic missiles might be unleashed, or forbid an EMP, which could have easily been mounted on something that big? An EMP device, I read this morning actually, it said an EMP on a high altitude balloon detonated could take out the entire East Coast grid, power grid, and cause 90% fatalities within the first 18 months and take a couple, 2 to 3 years to get back online. Now, even if that data is half true, people have to be aware that this could happen. And we should be more concerned with, the bullshit that goes on inter politics than the left and right shit where both presidents are funded by the same companies. Goldman Sachs, Exxon Mobil, you name it. I mean, it's all the same shit every election cycle. And it's important to talk about that because people are really wrapped up in politics. They think that that's the be-all, end-all of America. Democracy is doomed, or finally we're saved, whatever it might be, I mean, depending on who's president and who you are. Every 4 years, you'll find, as you go through every presidential cycle, there's a whole hubbub about bullshit leading up to it. But it's gotten to the point now where the internet has so much disinformation and it's basically infiltrated the Americans' minds and they believe it. And they get angry about it and frustrated. So that's my long-winded way of saying I think that the best way for us to not be angry, to remain calm, cool, and collected, is really to just step away from politics completely. I know not everybody's going to do that, and I know a lot of folks will disagree with my assessment, but it depends on your personality and what you're into. For me personally, I believe that politics in America are so corrupted, convoluted, and financed by, it's not even just big oil or big tobacco like it was in the past, or big alcohol. Now it's big cannabis. Now it's big tech. Now we have a whole different set of worries about people who, if you look at what's going on with the housing crisis, you'll find that it's not really a natural phenomenon that housing prices, house costs went up through the roof in the last 5 years. It's because they're being bought out by hedge funds and groups of people who have these, basically they're like investment firms for, real estate, and they used to buy buildings and, corporations. Now they turn their sights on public housing or apartment buildings or just single family dwellings, and basically have bought all of it up. And that's why a house is a $500,000 these days instead of, a reasonable price that somebody can actually afford. And, my heart goes out to the people who got fucked on that and still continue to get fucked by not being able to. Those are the reasons you should be mad. Those are the people you should be frustrated with. These, not just corporations, but multinational corporations, but also the fact that, a lot of these houses are sold to investment firms and even foreign groups. And I think that if we really want to make a difference, we need to stop fighting about whether it's Biden or Trump in office and start looking at whether or not we can fix some of the issues we have within our own communities. What about the potholes in your local roads? Do you have an aging infrastructure? Are the bridges falling apart? Is the mayor spending money on beautification projects like a stupid meridian in your town to bring in tourists, when what really matters to you is making sure that your house is safe because the dam upriver isn't maintained? I don't think Americans realize how fucked up our infrastructure really is. And those things we should be aware of, and but not be angry about, because there's only so much you can do about the problems. I guess I'm pointing out a lot of problems while I'm trying to say don't worry about problems. But I think we need to stop being divided on issues based on left or right and start looking at things based on who's financing it. And if you follow the money, you usually find the truth. So with that said, I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.